It is Saturday, March 22nd, and the Trump administration announcing mass deportations start today. We have the details. Also, have the Democrats chosen their next party leader? Because that's what we're hearing. Top of conversation all week in D.C. Rumblings about who will be anointed in 2028 because it's real. This is happening. We're going to show you. And the governor of Maine has caved, capitulating to Donald Trump over his EO about men and women's sports last month, falling on her sword after huge political backlash from state legislators and constituents. Trump, though, doubling down, saying it's not enough, demanding a public apology to all her residents that have been impacted, saying you owe the people of Maine an apology, and more stories as well from around the country. But before we get started, thank you for liking and sharing these videos. It really helps out the channel, and consider subscribing so you don't miss these regular updates. So Donald Trump's two main policy objectives are the economy and immigration. Solve the open border disaster that Joe Biden started, letting in 10 plus million illegal aliens. A number so outrageous it wasn't accidental or due to incompetence. It was their policy. It was the Biden administration policy to flood the country with illegal aliens, strategically placing them in these swing states, and by executive fiat giving them legal status. And if you look at what they did, it was calculated. Look at this. They focused on a specific group of migrants who fall under what's known as inadmissible aliens. That's the legal term. And you could see what they did on this chart. Look at this. This is CBP data, Customs Border Patrol data. Look at the dates. Look at the bottom of the chart, the years at the bottom. They started a policy of flying inadmissible aliens into the country, sometimes as many as 45,000 a month. In the 10 years preceding Joe Biden, there were a total of 65,000 in the entire 10 years. After Joe Biden, that number ballooned to almost 1 million people, strategically placing them in swing states, providing them free benefits, including credit cards, free housing, free cell phones, even free health care in some cases, all paid for by you, Mr. Taxpayer. Elon Musk saying the net result would have been permanent one-party rule, just like they did in California. Well, after 60 days in office, Donald Trump's stopped the flow in its tracks. He's largely sealed off the southern border. The month of February, lowest number of illegal crossings in recorded history. That was phase one. Phase two is conducting mass deportations, removing the 10 plus million illegals living in this country now, something that started today. The Trump administration revoking TPS, temporary legal status, of more than 500,000 migrants who entered the United States through a Biden administration parole program. Watch this.
The Trump administration is revoking the temporary legal status of more than 1 million Cubans, Haitians, Nicaraguans, Venezuelans. That's according to a Federal Register notice. The reason given, the parole programs were deemed ineffective in improving border security and inconsistent with current administration policies. It goes into effect April 20th. The move could leave hundreds of thousands possibly facing deportation. As of now, there have been no comments from the Trump administration.
CBS News reporting that 532,000 migrants from countries such as Cuba, Haiti, Nicaragua, Venezuela, who entered the country through a program called CHNV, will have their work permits and deportation protections terminated come April. This program started under Joe Biden. They changed the rules to allow illegal aliens to work legally. That's what changed everything. It's why we saw all net new job creation in this country go to foreign-born illegal workers instead of American citizens. Over the last 4 years, 100% of all new jobs, net new job creations, went to foreign-born workers instead of American citizens, something Democrats and the media are now furious about, that he's ending this TPS protection. They invested huge political capital doing this, and now it's all for naught. Dems put in a position where they're defending illegal aliens, defending a losing issue. Even CNN forced to report how Trump's mass deportation plan has majority support amongst American voters by big margins. Watch.
63%, according to the latest Fox News poll, say that they favor deporting those immigrants. So that's a pretty high number. Can you square that with what we just heard from Priscilla's reporting?
Yeah, I think that obviously the president has kind of blanketed the airwaves with saying that all of these people deported are criminals. And given the fact that we, reporters like Priscilla, we have very limited information to who exactly has been deported. The government has not handed over names. I know CBS got a hold of a list of names, but that hasn't been provided to those who are asking for who was actually deported. And there is a difference between someone who came into the country illegally versus someone who overstayed their visa. That's not a crime, versus someone who has no criminal record, no criminal history. Mm-hmm. And based on my reporting, based on clearly Priscilla's reporting, there are some Venezuelan nationals whose family members, whose lawyers say that they were deported who have no criminal record, who have no criminal history, that they legally applied for asylum or were trying to gain status, where some of them were in the middle of proceedings, and then they were deported.
And these TDS Dems just don't get it. They see the poll numbers. They see how 70% of Americans support this, support Trump's policy, and they don't get it. Listen to Ana Navarro doubling down yesterday and encapsulating everything wrong with her party, saying she's just waiting. She waits every day for Americans to wake up and disapprove already. But instead, they're gleeful. They're happy with everything he's doing. She just doesn't get it. You think? He's doing what he promised. Watch.
Police departments in South Florida are signing cooperation agreements to be deputized as ICE. When we, I keep thinking, okay,
this is going to be
going to change the way folks, they're gleeful. Everybody I know who voted for Trump is gleeful and supportive of everything he's doing.
In another story, Elon Musk announcing he has had enough, launching a lawsuit against Jamal Bowman, a former Democrat congressman in New York, launching a lawsuit for slander, going on CNN Thursday, calling Elon Musk incompetent, a thief, and a Nazi. Yes, called Elon Musk a Nazi, not mincing words, just saying it plain as day. Watch for yourself.
It's not about the parties, because the parties are going to kind of do their thing. It's about the people rising up and holding the parties accountable. Democrats have fighters. Jasmine Crockett, AOC, Ayanna Pressley, the whole squad, Greg Casar, Pramila Jayapal, and governors and mayors across the country are fighters. It's not true. And this shows, again, the American people do not trust Elon Musk. And Elon Musk is incompetent in his position. And how do we know? Because they fired tens of thousands of people. It was challenged in court. The court said the people have to go back, and now the people are coming back. He's incompetent. He's a thief. He's a Nazi, and people don't trust him. Period.
Let me just...
This is the same guy who was caught pulling the fire alarm to delay a vote in Congress last year, now finding himself in hot water yet again. Musk writing on X yesterday, "I've had enough, lawsuit inbound." And Democrats like Jamal Bowman are taking over the party, folks. The left flank of their party, the socialist wing, is mobilizing, orchestrating a coup against party leadership. The old guard of the Dem Party on its way out as AOC and Bernie Sanders continue their Say No to Oligarchy tour, pulling over 30,000 people to their latest rally in Denver last night. 30,000 people came out to see AOC speak last night. One of the dumbest members of Congress. How is that possible? Watch.
We need a Democratic Party that fights harder for us too. But that means, here's what that means. That means our communities, each and every one of us, choosing and voting for Democrats and elected officials who know how to stand for the working class. And Tempe, I want to give you your flowers for a second. because you all have been working overtime to make that happen. In fact, one thing I love about Arizonans is that you all have shown that if a U.S. Senator isn't fighting hard enough for you, you're not afraid to replace her with one who will and win. And that's how you got two fantastic senators in Mark Kelly and Ruben Gallego.
This is what Democrats have been looking for, someone who can mobilize their base, pulling crowds. Look, it's very likely AOC runs for president in 2028. All she has to do is run in the primary, which she'll likely win. That's how primaries work. And if she does win the primary, what we'll end up seeing is Bernie Sanders campaigning right alongside her, right alongside AOC, possibly as her running mate, using Bernie to draw out these huge crowds while promising socialism, democratic communism. There's now open discussion in Washington about an AOC Sanders presidential ticket. That's what Dems have been talking about all week. They're seeing these crowds and they're saying, whoa, is she the future of our party? They're not saying it publicly yet, but soon. You're going to start to hear about this soon. Instead of rethinking their ideas and their policies, doing some introspection, they're doubling down, saying fight harder, which means more DEI, more cashless bail. And I'm afraid to see what it'll look like if Dems fight any harder. How much harder can they fight? They impeached Trump twice, 2 assassination attempts, tried to throw him in jail for 100 years. In another story, Maine's governor has caved, capitulated to Trump's executive order last month, the order that effectively banned men participating in women's sports. Maine was one of the last states to hold out, completely ignoring the federal order. Last month at the governor's conference, Janet Mills got into that verbal altercation with Trump live on camera. Remember this?
I understand Maine. Is Maine here, the governor of Maine? Well, are you not going to comply with it?
I'm complying with state and federal laws.
Well, we are the federal law. Well, you better do it. You better do it because you're not going to get any federal funding at all if you don't. And by the way, your population, even though it's somewhat liberal, although I did very well there, your population doesn't want men playing in women's sports. So you better comply because otherwise you're not getting any federal funding.
See you in court.
Every state, good, I'll see you in court. I look forward to that. That should be a real easy one. And enjoy your life after governor because I don't think you'll be in elected politics. Every state has a responsibility to comply with Title IX. They have an obligation, a legal obligation, and we'll be enforcing aggressively, and we're going to be protecting our citizens. We're going to protect.
After that altercation and refusing to follow his executive order, all federal funding was halted to her state. Well, after 4 weeks of ignoring the CEO, she has caved. State legislators apologizing to the residents impacted, blaming their governor for ignoring this federal mandate. President Trump saying, it's too late. This went on for far too long, 4 weeks, and now demands a full-throated apology from the governor herself, from Janet Mills, posting on Truth Social this morning, while the state of Maine has apologized for their governor's strong but totally incorrect statement about men in women's sports. While at the White House Governor's Conference, we have not heard from the governor herself, and she is the only one that matters. All right, that wraps up this episode. Like, subscribe. We'll see you next time.